All right. Welcome to the Real Estate Investor Goddesses podcast. I'm your host, Monique Halm. And on this show, I interview incredible, badass real estate investing goddesses, women that are crushing it in the real estate investing arena. And our guest is one of the biggest badasses, most amazing of them all, Beth Clifford. I'm so excited to have her here. She has had an incredible amount of experience. She's an entrepreneur, a business strategist, a hands-on manager, and since 1980. And she possesses a passion for effective, improving operations and executing with excellence and integrity. She was in Wall Street and Fortune 500 companies, and then she got into the development space. And she's going to tell us a little bit more about her story. But she's been, she did semiconductor fabrication facilities in the U.S., directing the efforts of over 1,200 workers and delivering projects in record time, multi-billion-dollar projects, I believe, with a B. And she's done all different types of real estate. She's been she's done premium residential, infill residential. She's earned Great American Living Awards for her work, medical offices, retail and office properties, and is currently building the largest resort and residential property in the fastest growing Caribbean destination that we're super excited to have her share more about. She never tires of working with new entrepreneurs and startup companies, and she's an advisor, an angel investor, board member, personal advisors to founders, CEOs, government officials, and all that. And she's the mama of 2 amazing sons. And I'm so excited to have her here. Welcome back.
Hey, how are you, Monty?
I'm great. So yeah, I met you through the real estate guys, and I've been it's been so awesome getting to know you, and you've just dropped these profound nuggets that have been life-changing for me, and I'm super excited to share you with the goddesses and the Adonises that are listening, because we have some. So let's start from the beginning. How did you get started in real estate investing?
Yeah, so I mean, I came out of Wall Street and technology. So I've had 2 careers. One was technology based, and starting in the early 80s. And then I decided I wanted to go do something that I've always loved. My grandfather was a builder. And so I got the building bug probably when I was 3 or 4 years old, summering with my grandfather and driving around in his, 1950 something Chevy to his job sites. And he used to take me, and I would sneak out of the house. Instead of taking a nap, I would actually go in my grandpa's truck, and he would sneak me out of the house from my grandmother and take me on the job sites, and I would love to go do it. So I think that's where my passion for building and I've always loved 3D things. If I see a building at studs, I stop the car and go running in, just like some people would go run in for a Ferragamo sale. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a building at studs. I'm going to go look at it. So I think I've just always been fascinated by it, and I've just always loved it. So in my mid-30s, I made the decision to go try to leverage my technology background and put it into building. And that's when I went into construction management, because there's so much technology and operations, which is what I felt like I was very good at doing, and then applying all of that into the construction industry, which was very novice for it at that time. And so that's how I got started in it, and I haven't looked back since then. So I just love, as I tell many people, I've sat at a lot of the different chairs in a development project, everything from doing the acquisition to being the owner to being the developer. I've been a general contractor, I've been a subcontractor. So I've seen a lot of the different ways that everything gets put together, and feel like I have a pretty broad sense of the real estate market itself and how projects get put together, how people make money on it. So anyways, I think that's my story. How's that sound?
That's great. And what I love about your story, and you didn't really highlight this as much, but you did not start small. when you
No,
got
I started.
the building, you got it big.
Which is the person that I partnered with, because it had the most pressing need, which was it needed technology. And so when you're building a semiconductor facility and it's a $3 billion build out, and you're going to spend $3 billion in 15 months, then you need to have your stuff put together. And it turned out that most of the projects really didn't, and they needed technology woefully bad. And this was in mid 90s, just when, Netscape, I mean, we were just starting to publish some reports on the internet, but I mean, this was way back, pre-cell phone eras, and, I'm aging myself at this point, but yeah. So yeah, I started out in one of the 5 hardest things to go build, and that's a semiconductor facility.
It's amazing.
You might as well, but the good point of it, it's all the same, it's just zeros at that point. It's the methodology is pretty much the same for construction, regardless of how big the project is. It's just the number of scopes of work and the complexity of it maybe is a little bit more difficult, and the coordination is a little bit more difficult, but the basic parameters that drive that project are the same. If you're going to go do a rehab on a house, to go flip a house, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you were not afraid to just go big, because a lot of people have that feeling that if it's a lot bigger, then that means it's just that much harder. But it's often not harder to go bigger.
It isn't, but you know that too, Monique, which is the same thing. If you're going to go acquire a single family residence for your portfolio or a 600 unit apartment building, you're going to go through the same process and methodology, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. So why not go big?
It's the same deal, right? I mean, you're going to go through the same process. Yeah, you've got to go do due diligence on 600 rooms or whatever else, and whatever. But, the process that you're going to go through is pretty much the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
So think about scale, right? I always do that, which is, scale works. Size does matter. Scale can work in your advantage. Anyways.
Yeah. So if you're going to be taking the time to do it, might as well do it. You can.
Yeah. Might as well make it. Yep. Go ahead.
Probably a little bit more abundant to be working on a $3 billion deal than a $100,000 flip house.
Yeah, but it means you need more partners, correct? And you've got a lot more moving parts that are going on, but still pretty much the same.
Amazing. So now you are in the process of doing an amazing project in Belize, Mahogany Bay Resort,
right?
Bay Village. So tell us about that, and which I'm super excited about. We're doing a retreat there until.
Yeah, you're coming down in a few months, right?
Yeah, I can't wait.
So can't wait to have you on property.
I haven't been there since it's become, a Hilton. So
yeah, no, it's a Hilton, and we're slammed. My gosh, we just had a big weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We just had a big weekend. We were like 95% occupied. We just had a big weekend. But anyways, so what would you like me to tell you about? Just how I got started, or
how'd you get started, and what's the process been like?
Yeah, so started, it really came about looking for what I would call, I think as a developer, you look at your portfolio, or I always looked at my portfolio as a developer of having singles, doubles, triples, and home runs, and so there's a lot of projects that are shorter in term, and then there's longer term projects, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I have been, and in the last 10 years, have been doing a lot of singles and doubles, particularly from the time of the economic meltdown in the mid 2000s through the last 10 to 12 years. And so I was doing a lot of value-based projects, buying things at discounts, entitling them, creating new infill projects, etc. And those are type of projects, to be singles and doubles, are projects that you can get in and out of within about a 3-year window. And hopefully because of the 3-year window, you're not going to be in the middle of business cycles and things like that. So they're pretty contained, they're pretty understood, that they're lower risk than a longer term project was. And so while I was doing all of that, I was also looking for a home run project. And a home run project usually would have a higher potential rate of return and could look at a 10 to 20-year horizon for the entire project. And so I like to look at having that blend in my development so that I've got a little bit of everything going on. So making a long story short, when I started to look at where I want to go develop, that would be a legacy. I wanted to go develop in an asset class that had a high rate of return, and hospitality has a very high rate of return compared to different asset classes. Two, I was looking for something outside of the United States for potential tax benefits. So was looking for outside. And three, with everything, it's always about market, market, market. And so, if you can, as it was to build a buy and hold asset for cash, but at the same time to look for a property, or excuse me, to look for a market that was going to pop. And so then we would have an appreciation play as well. And so long story, but 2 years of research, we finally found Belize. And future, now looking backwards, it is now it's the fastest growing travel destination in North America, Caribbean is Belize. And so it's one of those few times, and now I'm going to knock on wood because we actually, we picked a market right, but that doesn't always happen. What's this?
Total home run.
Yeah. So it did. And so, it started off, as a more meager idea, and then it's kept growing, and people, it attracted a lot of investors, which attracted a lot of sales, and it attracted a lot of partners and Hilton and everything else. And so now we're, open. We've got 125 rooms open. We've been open for a year and a half. We passed positive cash flow in our 11th month of operation, which is pretty much unheard of in the hotel industry. But nothing's easy, right? So you keep moving on, keep working.
Yeah, amazing. So, describe a bit what Mahogany Bay Village is like, because it's not just a typical resort, right?
No, that's a great question. So it's really built on 3 pillars. It's built on the Hilton Resort part. It's built on lifestyle residences where people may have a higher rate of personal use for them, from anywhere from they may be snowbirds and come down and live in them for 3 or 6 months, or full-time residents. So there's a whole longer-term residence part of the property. And then there's a downtown retail. So it's an urbanism property. So it's about creating a townlet, creating a village, creating a place. It's a walkable destination. So we've got 11 different retailers and services that are available. And it's really about creating a collaboration, because I, as a developer, I am not very good at many things. And so I don't know how to run a spa. I don't know how to do a yoga studio. I'm not a sushi chef. And so the best thing that I can do as a developer is to create spaces and to lease them out to people who are best in class, who can offer services and food and beverage offerings that would delight our guests.
Yeah, it's an incredible place.
Yep, thank you.
So your husband, Dennis, is there. He's working on this project too. You're going to be one of our speakers at the Real Estate Investor Soulmates Retreat, which is all about doing real estate, and with your partner. So tell us what it's like to work with Dennis.
Yeah, it's great. So, a couple things, and just for some clarity, which is my husband's not my partner in the property. That I started the property before I even met my husband, and we got married. And so, the property, I own the companies, and my senior management team, we needed to hire somebody to come in who had experience of opening resorts. And my senior management team came to me, and we all knew we needed to have this critical hire. And they got me into a meeting. They said, "We found the candidate." And I'm like, "Great, who is it?" And they said, "It's your husband." I was like, "Oh, no. But anyways, he was absolutely a great candidate for, number one, he worked with a couple of people who were on my executive team. So he had, working experience, but two, he had come out of opening for Disney and had worked for the Walt Disney Company for a number of years and helped with the opening of many of their resorts as well, including the Disney in Paris. And so he had done it. So he had the cred to go do it. So yeah, so he came on and helped us open the property. And it's great working with your husband. There's challenges with it as well. And
Yeah.
so you want me to speak a little bit about it?
Yeah, let's talk about it because, a lot of times when you're working with your spouse, it will be like equal partners.
Yep.
So in this context, you're the boss. So
I'm the boss. And I feel very, I don't want to diminish him in any way, but truly I am the boss, right? So
yeah.
he was brought on and I was the boss. We created this safe place where wherever there was difficult discussions that need to be made, that we created a safe way that we could always have communications. And so most of the time, 95% of the time, everything would go honky-dory, right? And so no issues, part of the team, nothing. But there were times where either things weren't meeting what we thought we were supposed to go do or more than we could have or whatever else. And so, we just found this really way to always step aside, couch, and put boundaries around around the conversation. This is a business conversation that we're going to have until we stop having this business conversation. And then it's going to be the end of a business conversation. And then we'll process as people afterwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. So when you're doing that, you pre-frame the conversation.
Yep.
Okay, I'm putting on my, like the hat. We're putting on those hats. We're having this conversation, this box right now, just about this. And then so how does it?
Then we close the box. And then it's like, it's not personal. It has nothing to do with our relationship. It doesn't diminish. And this is him talking to me as well. Whereas if he thinks I'm doing, this is bilateral. This isn't, this isn't me to him. This is him saying, Beth, I think you're not doing the best you could, or I think I need to improve. Whatever it is, we take the personal out of it and we take the relationship out of it and we contain it and put the box in it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then afterwards, we open the conversation up to say, is there anything personal we now need to feel like there's something that we need to discuss? Or can we keep that conversation in the box?
Yeah.
And move on.
That's so brilliant. That's so good.
And if we can't, we go back through it again. And it's like, well, I think the way that you said that to me, it sounded a little, judgmental, or it sounded like you were demeaning me, or whatever. The personality pieces come into it. Mm-hmm. And then that helps us learn about how we talk within the box.
So good.
Right?
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah, because, there's nothing
clean.
There's nothing that, nothing, I don't ever want to put my relationship at jeopardy over business.
Yeah.
But that's number one.
That's great. So you have the right priorities. So what the most important is our love for one another. And then the business comes second, but we do have to have difficult conversations within this, sometimes. But
I told you to call this person back and you didn't call them back and we're all waiting. And so I've got to have that conversation with you in a way that's more difficult than it would be with somebody who may be a direct report, correct?
Yeah.
Because we have a personal relationship, correct? And so it's like, no, I expect you to get it done. And how are you going to get it done? And how can we hold each other accountable? So that still needs to be done, but it needs to be done in a way that protects the relationship.
So I would imagine, that this is actually could strengthen your relationship and your trust. And,
It does. It's actually a real benefit because, I treasure my husband. And every day I treasure him even more. And I think working together has built a greater bond between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's built better communication between the two of us
Yeah.
because we're able to work through difficulties, whether personal and or business together,
Yeah.
and we successfully keep moving through them.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, ultimately that's what it's about. So if you can do it with real cleanliness and, and clarity,
Yeah.
intentionality,
Yeah.
then it is something that can strengthen your bond. And
Okay.
which
Yep.
is, what the retreat's all about. And I'm so happy you can be there. So what advice do you have for working with a spouse? I mean, you've already given a brilliant example, but do you have other advice for?
I think what you said was very good, which is be clear about the roles each person has and be honorable to each other, just be, and definitely, I do the 10-second rule, which sometimes turns into the 1-day rule where, when things aren't going just like you want, it's everything. It's even more with your spouse to make sure that you don't react and you're thoughtful. And so unfortunately, emotions come into our business many times, and even more so, I think you've got to do, if it's 10 seconds that you do with a partner, like a vendor or an employee that you think, and you take 10 breaths or whatever you go do, correct? To protect, I think you should multiply it by 2 for your spouse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You have to think carefully and
yep.
remember what's important.
You remember what's important. Agreed.
Yeah. And I think, you gave such a great example. It was one of the big challenges I think a lot of people have is they tend to throw in all this other stuff.
Right.
Something comes up about work, and now all of a sudden this is an argument about what happened with the kids or who's doing
No, that's the whole point. That's the whole thing with this. Like, hey, I asked you to call Joe back and arrange for the nails to get here, and you didn't. Doesn't now allow you to also add in, and oh, by the way, I asked you to empty the dishwasher.
Yeah, and you never, you never do what I asked you.
Never empty the dishwasher when I asked you. And so that's not a license to bring that in, correct?
Yes. Exactly. But I think that's probably the main pitfall for most people. So they just get really sloppy with the communication.
They get sloppy between the business and the personal, and then it gets really ugly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, God, this is such a great conversation. Switching gears a little bit, and that's a question that I always ask because I find that we learn so much more from our mistakes and when things don't go well than when they do. So what would you say was your biggest mistake in your real estate investing career? And what did you learn from it?
From investment, I'll answer 2 ways. From investment, there's only been 1 or 2 times where I've either raised money and haven't been able to get 100% capital back to me, only once. And that time was when the market turned. And so it's a strong, you may believe the market, but if the market turns on you and if you're not fast enough and agile enough, but I wasn't agile enough to get out fast enough. And so my investors had a 12% haircut on capital. Nobody likes that. Now, most people though, if you've been doing the business for 20 years and you've only had 1 project and you only had 1 investor haircut, that's probably not bad.
That's an A++.
But regardless, nobody likes it. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody likes it. And no investor wants to go do it. So I think a lot of it is about market. It's certainly, that was one that certainly is paramount to mine.
Yeah. What did you learn from that? What would you do differently?
I was over optimistic on the market and had not factored in the government. And it was basically the reason we got late was because of a year of government stuff. And so entitlements and everything else. And so, you have to temper all you got to wring out every risk in the middle of it. And so what happens if the government slows you down by a year or a year and a half?
Yeah.
Because we're not going to entitle that or whatever. So, or it takes a delay. You just got to temper that.
Okay.
Yep. Everything's going to, as they always say, they used to say it in technology development, all project plans are going to be twice as long and twice as expensive as originally planned. So everything's going to be a 4X. Now, that's always true with real estate, but you've got to always look at your pro formas that way.
Yeah.
And then I would say my biggest learning, I would say just my personal development, and I think this is true for so many, which is not just real estate developing, Monique, but my strength is I'm an eternal optimist, and I believe people will do their best.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my glass looks like.
Yeah.
That is my weakness. And I believe that this is true with so many people. Your strength is your weakness.
Yeah. And it's your strength, right? It's like,
And then I have so much faith in so many people, and I have faith that people will get their job done, and that people are diligent, and that people behave and will look at things similar to the way I look at things, and blah, 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 blah. And I've been told by many people, they said, you have too much faith in people. And you need to have less, and you have to more tightly manage people. So that's probably my biggest, and that's one of my bigger learning things right now, is very much, I don't like being a micromanager. I like being more of a founder than I am a day-to-day operations management person. But just holding people to higher levels of accountability.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yep.
I'm a truster too. And
I like how you say that. You're a truster. That's a great way. I'm a truster. Cheers to the trusters of the world.
I trust you. And I have faith in most people. But I have found that generally people will live up to what you expect of them.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And there's always outliers. And I just, I live my life that way. I mean, I don't lock my doors at night. The keys to my car are actually in my car. I'm not telling you where I live right now, but but I mean, I'm just a truster. And I really believe that, if anybody wants to steal something from you, they can steal it from you.
Yeah.
Locks only keep the honest people out of your house. And I just refuse to live my life to barricade myself from people, or to shelter myself from the 4% of the world that really is malicious.
Yeah, I agree. So it's always good to help people, give them like no fail systems.
Yeah, and I just refuse to treat the other 96 the way that you treat the other 4, because the 96, you know what I'm saying? Like, that seems disingenuous to me.
Right. Well, so you brought this up in the context of a mistake.
No, maybe it isn't a mistake, but maybe I'm saying, so I'll change that, that's my growth right now. And there are a few people that I did trust too long and should have held them accountable quicker than I did.
Yeah. Like when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yep. What did you say that? I want to hear that.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Well said. Agreed.
That's a Maya Angelou. I can't claim that. I can't claim that. Really.
That's a great one, isn't it?
Yeah. But when you trust, and then until there's reason not to.
Yep. And then you're like, yep.
So what do you attribute your success? Because you've had an incredible amount of success in your career. Like you have 20 years, you have one haircut. That's pretty amazing. So what do you attribute your success?
I think a lot about my background, and I was born in Maine, and we're frugal people. Like the land and the people I come from, we're very frugal, humble people, and hard workers. And that is really what, and you can't get by alone in Maine. Like, it's like, there's so, what I mean? Like, you have to be part of a community to, it's not like we're out here fighting the Indians or something out here, but I mean, it's a culture that I grew up in, which was it honored hard work, it honored education, it honored all people around us. So I think it's been grit and respect for other people, and having the belief that every person has something that they can add to you, and that each person has worth. And my goal is to engage with every person and find out what I can learn from them and what I can assist them with. And so I think it's basically it's an ethos. Does that make sense more than anything else?
Yeah.
It's believing in win-win. I'm a win-win person. Like you said, I'm a truster. Now I know I'm a truster. I'm a win-win person. I'm a hard worker.
Beautiful. That's great.
And you have humility about it, and I think that's always, when I see people, and I know I've seen it with myself, when you go from humility to hubris, and when I sometimes see it on Facebook where I see people are bridging over to hubris, it always makes me nervous.
Yeah.
We're all susceptible to the fall.
Indeed. That humility. So the humility, the hard work, the win-win ethos.
The generosity, the being grateful for everybody,
So good. So
Yep.
good. Okay. One last question before we go into our famed end of show Trinity, which is a brag, gratitude, and
I like that.
Two questions. One was, what do you wish you'd known at the beginning that you now know?
It's a lot harder than it looks. Yeah. And I think it's gotten harder. I mean, I just turned 60, and I think there are no layups anymore. And so I think there was a lot of, as the internet and as technology expands, as the ability for people to have almost all the same access to finite knowledge, the ability to find disparity in markets becomes more and more difficult to go do. The margins become narrower. So maybe that's more prediction than you may have asked before. But I mean, I think it's like you're going to have to work harder and harder, and nothing is easy.
Okay.
Is that, like that?
Well, it is hard work. It's not a, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a get rich quick. It's not a get rich quick journey.
No.
There are easier and harder ways to do this, right?
That's right.
So I mean, you can invest passively. That's about the easiest thing you can do.
Right.
And then there's developing a multi-billion-dollar the international resort with different businesses and all of that, which is a kind of a different order of complexity and challenge. What you're up to. And so there are, there's a lot of different ways to be in this business, but they all require education. They all require teamwork. They all require learning and it's not always easy, for sure.
There isn't. It isn't.
Yeah.
Yep. Are you ready for your last question?
Yeah, what's the best way for people to reach you, to find out more about what you do? Maybe Mahogany Bay.
Yeah, I'm Beth at Mahogany Bay Village, so people can absolutely send me an email. Okay, Beth at mahoganybayvillage.com. So they can reach me, get in touch with me that way. Is that okay?
That's great. So generous. Thank you.
I'm not giving you my address because you'll know my cars are unlocked.
He's already being generous enough.
Go ahead.
So now it's time for the Trinity. So what's one brag? What are you celebrating right now?
I'm one of my sons has had a illness for a long period of time, and he's doing better. And so that's what I'm celebrating right now.
That's a great celebration.
Yep.
But it's not quite a brag. So a brag is
Oh, but you want me to do a brag?
I want you to do a brag.
Oh, okay, that's a celebration.
But I do celebrate your son.
Okay, so but for me. So yeah, well, sorry.
It's all right.
I celebrate that we got the biggest hotel built in the country of Belize. We opened it. We attracted the first major brand, and we broke even in 11 months.
So well bragged. Oh my gosh. You guys have no idea how big the brag that is. It's amazing.
It doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean that there isn't a list this long of things that we need to do.
Of course, but that you need to brag that amazing what you created there.
But that's a milestone, right?
It's huge. So needing to be bragged. So well bragged. And what is one thing that you're grateful for?
This will sound very trite, probably. I am grateful for my team, my team members. I've been our team has moved to this place where we're becoming like a family. We really care for each other. We celebrate birthdays. We celebrate births. We cry when people have deaths. We move people up and back. And so I really celebrate being part of a family of team members that we're doing life with, and that working together down in Belize, it's more than a job. It's a career and an opportunity to move people forward in what they want to go do in their life. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful.
That's great. That's awesome.
I am. And I'm grateful. I haven't been in Belize for 2 weeks, and a lot of the people who are team members are friends of mine on Facebook, and they'll message me and they're like, "Hey, Miss Beth, we haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. Are you okay?" You're like, "Are you in the hospital?" I'm like, "No, I'm just doing business in the United States." And they're like, "Oh, okay, great. We just went where you were." And so there's this care about people. You know what I mean?
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And what is one thing you desire?
I desire?
Mm-hmm.
I desire, this is the antithesis to that. I desire 1 month break I don't get 400 emails a day. I desire getting to that place where I can turn over more and more of my day-to-day.
Yeah.
And not have 400 emails, Slack, Zooms, WhatsApps.
Yeah.
the 400 ways that they can get in touch with you, right? So that's what I desire.
You desire some freedom. Okay.
Great. I've been on the grind for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
70 to 90 hours a week. It's a long time.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Hopefully you're close.
I am close. I am. So I am. And so that's an active project. Things that you desire, you have to plan for. It's not like I'm scratching lottery tickets up here.
No.
Correct?
Yeah. Well, so shall your desire be, or so much better than you can imagine.
What's this? Say it again.
So shall your desire be, or so much better than you can imagine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. This was awesome.
Thank you. It's so good to see you.
You too. I can't wait to see you in July.
Yes.
If you guys ladies, gentlemen, are interested, we're going to be having a real estate investor soulmates retreat in beautiful Ambergris Key, Belize, in the Mahogany Bay Village. Beth will be there speaking more about working in partnership or just working with your spouse and how to do that in a brilliant way. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can go to tinyurl.com/REI Soulmates to find out more.
Great.
Okay. So thank you, and we'll see you next time for another Real Estate Investor Goddess interview.
You bet. Bye, honey.
Bye.